Coming up next on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, my co-host Win Tui Dow, and our guest, Adam Dowd from the Benefit of the Dowd podcast and Digital Trends. We got a lot to talk about today. Google I.O. schedule is finally out, so we break that down a little bit. Also, we break down the back button, which is apparently going to be featured, at least in some small way, at Google I.O. Self-share finally comes to nearby share. Wen gives us a look at that. Adam reviews the Nord N20 5G. The Nothing Launcher beta is definitely beta. Plus, we have your email and a whole lot more next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club Twit. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows. Plus, membership in the Club Twit Discord, a great clubhouse for Twit listeners. And finally, the Twit Plus feed with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks for your support.
Hello, welcome to All About Android. This is episode 576, recorded on Tuesday, May 3rd. Yes, May 3rd. Sorry, I don't know why I had a brain fart there. 2022, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Win Tui Dow.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Win? Good to have you back. Good to see you again.
Good to be back. Good to be seen.
Yeah. It's great to have you here. We do not have a Ron Richards on the show this evening. He is he's very broken up about having to miss out on this show, but sometimes you just got to take a break. You got to step away, and it's okay, Ron. You're forgiven. Take care of yourself. But joining us in Ron's place, it is Adam Dowd. Welcome back to the show, Adam.
Well, thank you. Also known as the reason Ron Richards is not here, and I apologize for that.
Yes, see, this is news to me. That's breaking news to me. I didn't know that. Maybe you are Ron Richards. Just, I don't know. Have we ever seen the both of you in the same place at one time? I'm not really quite sure, but there we go.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you have.
Okay, well then, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind, although that would be some pretty awesome magic if you could pull that off. Adam, of course, is the host of Benefit of the Dowd podcast. Also, I think since your last time on here, you're working at Digital Trends. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, the last time I was on here was like 4 jobs ago. So yeah, I am the interim section editor for mobile at Digital Trends. I started there in December and as a staff writer, and I had planned to take about a year before I stole my editor's job, but he decided to leave before the year was up. So they handed me the keys to the kingdom, and I have just been driving that baby, and the top's down, hair's flapping in the back, and it's been a beautiful thing.
And you're plastering Digital Trends logos all over your fake Zoom wallpapers.
I don't know what you're talking about there. That's just I don't. Contractor, no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
Okay, all right. Good to know. Good to know. Well, it's great to have you on. Before we get to the news, you gave me the heads up in pre-show that we might want to do a little bit of pre-news, breaking news. So let's do that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's time for breaking news, Burke. This just in, Adam has something interesting.
Adam has a thing. So as a section editor for mobile, I am no stranger to occasionally receiving phone cases in the mail, but this is one of the first times, if not the first time, that I have received a phone case for a phone that does not exist officially yet. And it arrived earlier today, and I didn't have time to write this up for digitaltrends.com, but you can bet that'll be the first thing I'm doing tomorrow morning at digitaltrends.com. So be sure to visit digitaltrends.com to see all the pictures of this phone case. And the phone case is, I'm just going to show you a very brief thing. That would be a phone case for the Pixel 6a, which does not officially exist yet. And we can learn a few things about the Pixel 6a from this phone case. The Pixel 6a. Now, okay, it should be mentioned that this is a phone case, and phone case manufacturers generally work on renders and specifications and sometimes models when they're designing their phone cases. So we don't know for a fact that this is, in fact, what the Pixel 6 is going to look like. But what we can suppose is that the Pixel 6a will be within millimeters of the same body size as the Pixel 6, not the Pixel 6 Pro, but the Pixel 6.
Okay.
And the button placement is still the same. Unfortunately, we still have volume down, volume up, and power going up the side of the phone. And that is the wrong order, Google. Anyway, and the back of the phone will have the Geordie LaForge visor camera bump, but it will be, I would say, 33% smaller than the Pixel 6 if this opening on the back of the case is correct. So I will be writing this up first thing in the morning, and it will be posted on Digital Trends, and you'll see pictures of it next to the Pixel 6 and stuff like that. But I just thought we'd give you a little teaser before we, since I was on the podcast.
See,
so.
And I'm searching online. I'm got a Google search for Pixel 6a case. No one else seems to have this. You are the only one who is certain that the 6A exists or will exist at some point.
Well, reasonably certain.
Certain.
That's fair. And I'm positive I'm not the only one that has received one of these cases. So
yeah, probably
it's
not.
probably a race against the clock.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Burke has some like dramatic music that he can play in the background there, but yeah, yeah, there you go. I'm not a workaholic though, so it's going to have to wait until the morning. I am a workaholic. That's actually not true, but it's still going to have to wait until the morning.
But still, it's the evening time. Your evening writing time has been given to us instead for podcasting time, and we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you bringing me on. It's fun.
And thank you for sharing the 6A case. At least at this point, we are 98% certain that the Pixel 6A will, in fact, exist at some point. Likely that it's going to exist or at least be shown off at a certain event that's coming up. That's going to be at the top of our next section, which is the news. So, Burke, why don't we jump in?
I'm 98% certain that we've got a new bit going on that Ron and Adam may be the same person.
Yeah, well, that's true. Although
I mean, we've already proven that
debunked.
We've already proven that Flo and Huen are the same person.
Are different.
And
Absolutely.
We're still kind of maybe whether me and Burke are the same person, but
there's a lot of same personing going on around here. I don't understand.
There is.
Why?
Ron is far more handsome though, but I have more hair.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Google I/O a little bit, Win. And we know a little bit more now than we knew even a week ago.
Yeah, so Google I/O is next week, y'all. And if you're interested in tuning in to Google I/O, there's a schedule. And of course, I think the biggest thing, especially for kind of this space, will be the keynote, which will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time on day one, given by Sundar Pichai, immediately followed by the developer keynote and many other keynotes of what's new in various things. So you're going to get your Android, your Firebase, your Flutter, your web, your AR, Google Play, Chrome OS, Google Home, Google Play, what's new and more. And that's all up right now. There is a schedule. Day two is going to be heavily weighted towards technical sessions, and they will be available on demand. But it looks like, as previously stated, the big keynote and the developer keynote will be live. So tune in if you're interested in those things. If you register and create a developer profile, which seems a little restrictive, but you can if you'd like, just like I did. And you can go ahead and bookmark any sessions that you're interested in. But I always feel Google I/O is pretty interesting because I think the keynote is heavily, industry consumer friendly, whereas the rest of it is absolutely not. The rest of it is intensely technical stuff. And I know like my team's looking forward to it. And yeah, go check it out. By the way, what's new in Android, which is kind of, I guess for me, the third most important keynote, is traditionally done by Chet Haas, Raman Gee, and Dan Sendler. But this year, it is being done by friends of the show, Nick Butcher and Florina Muntanescu. So if anything else,
nice.
This is their first time taking it over. I actually saw them last week because I was in London doing things. But yeah, if you enjoyed them on the show and you want to crank up their like viewer numbers, go do that. But yeah, you can check out everything else that's going on at Google I/O on the website. And yeah, we'll see what happens next week.
Nice. And then Adam, you also linked us to a article that you did not write, but one of your colleagues, Andy Boxall, wrote 6 Google I/O streams to watch even if you're not a developer. What stands out to you, Adam? What are you going to be looking out for?
Well, I will, of course, be watching the keynote because everybody will be watching the keynote.
That's the can't miss thing. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I am not a developer. I don't even play one on TV. I have a developer account, but that's only so I can go to Google I/O or so I can watch Google I/O. I'm interested in probably what's new in the Android camera. Because it's a beginner session, which of course appeals to me. But Google is known for its camera technology, and I'm really fascinated to see like what might be coming down the pipeline from a company who's put such an emphasis on the camera, and also like what's new in Android. That's kind of a softball, if you will. That's one of the the obvious choices, the chalk choice, if you will. So, but yeah, I'd say like what's new in the Android camera is probably the one that interests me the most, even though I have a work meeting scheduled at that time. Yeah.
There are sessions about Wear OS, which of course, later in the show, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Pixel Watch. So that might be integrated in. You also mentioned before the show that this is going to be the 10-year anniversary of Google Glass, which when put in that context just kind of blows my mind because, it has been a while since Google Glass, but I can't believe it's been 10 years. That's crazy. I should have brought my glass from its little perch in my office just to wear it for this tiny moment.
You should have. I edited this piece not long before we came onto the show. And so, but again, Andy Boxall, he is just a treasure trove of writing. So I can't say enough positive things about Andy. So he wrote in, first of all, a personal anecdote that he got his Google Glass because some non-tech company in London was running a promotion, and the prize, this runner-up prize, not the grand prize, but the runner-up prize was a Google Glass. And like a lot of people got these things and didn't know what they were, didn't know what to do with them. So they put them on eBay for like, I think he said it was the equivalent of about $500 at the time. So he picked one up from eBay, and he said it was the one he bought wasn't even the cheapest one that he could have gotten. He just got that one because it was close to him. But yeah, it's just it's really amazing when you think about it. It's been 10 years since Google Glass came out and about 9.5 years since it died. So it's just it was one of those devices that could have been really revolutionary if it had, I don't know, cooked a little bit more in the oven before coming to the general public.
I think what's interesting to me about now in technology versus then is that Google Glass, and we actually just talked about this on Tech News Weekly last Thursday because Snap announced their Pixie drone, right? And prior to that, of course, Snap has their spectacles that they've released, and there's other companies doing the eyewear that can take pictures or record video, that sort of stuff. And I always felt like that was the real strength for me, anyways, in my usability of Google Glass. It was always like the idea of a wearable camera, a camera that sees what I see through the same kind of vantage point that I see it, which was 10 years ago, and no one was ready for a camera on the face then. Like in the beginning, it was kind of like, wow, this is interesting and different and neat. And they had hired, they had their advertising blitz, and I remember there was like a fashion show where all of the models were wearing Google Glass. Like they were trying really hard to make this thing super cool. And then at a certain point, the attention turned to, well, wait a minute, if there's a camera on your face, then how do I know if you're recording or not? And the, kind of the privacy implications and everything. And here we are 10 years later, and it's a lot more accepted. In some ways, Google Glass just kind of seems like a device that was ahead of its time, but there needed to be a device to kind of start that wave, and so I don't know. I mean, it's still around, right? Like you can still buy Google Glass, can't you? It's like an enterprise thing. I feel like
Now, so Andy actually got out his Google Glass when he was writing this article, and he noted that he was able to connect it to his phone, but the app is no longer in the App Store, and even the website that you use to sign into Wi-Fi is no longer, like, it's a 404 right now. So it's the consumer version of Google Glass is pretty darn non-functional at the moment. But I believe there were enterprise applications. I didn't keep up with it, to be honest. So I don't know if there's still enterprise applications out there now, but
there is. When I do a search, I find Glass Enterprise Edition 2, a wearable device that helps businesses improve the quality of their output. Blah, 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 blah. So it is, I mean, but you can't, like, there's nowhere on the page. It's not like you can go there and you can just like buy Google Glass. It looks like if you're interested in the Glass Enterprise Edition, you have to contact Google, and they're probably choosing certain enterprises to work with and whatnot. So it still exists, but it's way different than I think even Google knew. But maybe Google released it not knowing what it was going to be, just knowing that it was different and that they made it. Back then also, that was the Nexus 7 time. It was kind of early on in Google's hardware kind of pursuit. And, maybe the Nexus Q came out a year or two before that. I don't know. But it was very early in their pursuit for hardware. So did you ever have Glass, Win?
No, never got into it. I think, what year? So it was 2012. That was actually before I ever managed to get to Google I/O. And I think for me, just not something that I ever really thought of my day-to-day life. But I did know, I know Mike Wolfson had one, and I got to be friends with him in a couple years later. And I saw a lot of devs that had it, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. But I also kind of had to, I guess a lot of other people, get used to the idea that someone's filming me constantly. Actually, that was a thing. We had a Trello, get together, because we're all remote. We actually had an offsite, and we did a salsa lesson as one of the activities, one of those team building things. Uh-huh. And my partner at the time, not my partner as in my romantic partner, but the person who was partnered with me for the salsa class actually had his Google Glass on the entire time. And I was like, please don't record me while I'm trying to learn salsa dancing for the first time. I cannot imagine what horrors you are seeing, but I think it was pretty fascinating. I still feel like at the time that was a little bit, I wouldn't say odd, but it was just not typical. And there was an element of spectacle about him kind of wearing this throughout this whole team building activity. But I do feel I think it's so interesting. It is one of those things where I wonder whether sometimes with these kind of darts that Google throws at the wall, and Google being such a kind of consumer-facing company, whether they sometimes focus too much on the consumer. I kind of like the idea of Glass and kind of other things for industry, for manufacturing, for medical, for things that aren't something that necessarily, your mom or your dad might want, but that might be, good tools for other applications that get a little de-emphasized because of kind of the nature in which Google likes to design and release things, and that maybe there's more chances for them if they're looking into more niche domain type applications. So I don't know. I kind of feel that way about tablets too for a little bit. Actually, before this year, I felt that way about tablets. Is that we manufacturing and industry and stuff like that could find good use for portable larger screens, but hey, now we've all been proven wrong and tablets are back. So who knows? Maybe Glass.
Tablets are back.
Tablets are back. Oh no!
It's still proving. I feel like tablets are back is a still proving thing.
They're meandering.
Google really wants tablets to be back. I don't know if tablets are quite back yet, but Google is paving the way for that.
Right.
So
Casper.io.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're just full of plugs tonight.
Little plug there for my homie David Ruddock.
There you go. Yes, and friend of the show. We know quite a few people from the Esper team. That is not all with Google I/O though. There was another article, and actually behind the initial article was friend of the show Michal Rahman from Esper.io about the back button, back navigation, which anyone who's been on Android for any length of, for a long enough length of time, I feel like the back button in recent years, the last couple of years, is kind of leveled out. It's kind of become a little bit more predictive. We can kind of understand what the back is going to do now. But there was a lot of years however many years up until a couple of years ago, I'd say, where the back button was constant consternation because truthfully, as a user, you were never really quite certain exactly what was going to happen when you hit back. Is that going to take you home? Is that going to take you to the screen before in the app that you're in? I mean, it could do any million number of different things.
Is it going to quit the app?
Is it going to quit the app?
Real talk, devs half the time we don't know either. I mean,
right, that's a problem.
I love this because my perspective on it has been like, I definitely get it from a user perspective, but all the times that I've had, there's been so many countless back button versus up navigation versus what do we do now conversations versus this, our users think this is terrible conversations throughout all my Android projects. It's been from like day one. So yes, just how the sausage is made. Sometimes we're just not really sure either what to do.
Yeah, no, understandable. Well, this is just another one of those examples of Google not really. I don't know if there's like didn't stick the landing sort of thing, or not really being incredibly clear about that functionality, or I don't know what it is. But for a long time, it was very questionable. It sounds like on the developer side and on the user side. Well, now Android 13 is apparently going to be bringing changes to the back button functionality. Still kind of uncertain exactly what that means, but Michel Roman, did some diving. Also, there's the fact that in the schedule for I/O is an event called Back to the Basics of System Back. So there's going to be an emphasis. I feel like that's not a talk that's given every year. Like Android, what's new in Android Wear? That's a very specialized thing. So Google's got something up its sleeve for that, right? And then Michel is piecing together from different clues and everything what he's calling a predictive back navigation system and what that may mean. He's not entirely sure what that means, but usually when Google's throwing out the term predictive, it has something to do with AI or has something to do with some general understanding about what the user intends to do. And so I'm super curious to know what that actually means when you're talking about back button functionality. Is the system going to guess what I'm wanting when I hit the back button? How is the system going to know? I don't know. Does that, from a developer standpoint and based on your own kind of your own hands-on with the craziness, the wonkiness of the back button historically, does a predictive back button give you any pause, or are you curious? What do you think?
We're still going to mess it up, y'all. I think what'll be interesting and what I would like to see, and I think Michel and some others have speculated that maybe so what I'd like to see, this is my wish, is that ever since the introduction of gesture-based navigations, I've been an unhappy person just because of both as me as a user and me as a developer have not been really crazy about the back gesture navigation with how it works and how it tends to, conflict depending on your app and your navigation.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a really good solution because that back navigation is sure as heck not going away. It would be really nice if machine learning could help the system anticipate whether the user means navigate within the app or actually hit the system back. That's what I would love, and that's what all I really need from kind of the Michel's analysis. I still feel like there's lots of room for developers to mess it up because basically at any time at all, we can override what the back button does. That's probably, it's both a good thing and a bad thing in that, and I think to go back to what you stated about why the back button seems to have always been an issue, is that the guidelines are a little unclear. We had this murky bit in the middle where Google was trying to distinguish up behavior versus back behavior. And I've always explained that is the back button is the back on your browser, and up, which also was a left pointing arrow for years and years and years. And I guess still technically is in the toolbar is more think of it like a breadcrumb on your website where it's more organizational hierarchical. So there's been all this confusion. And users devs can at any point just override the damn thing and do whatever they want. Nothing take you to Timbuktu, wherever you want to go. And so I don't think that's changing too much. And it kind of has to remain as is, mostly so that we don't break navigation for, the many of us who have ever done that. me, other places. But I would like to see that in terms of like the conflict and the collision with the back gesture. And I think they talked about the animations, which is kind of been a big focus of 12 and just in general, and making that a little more intuitive. Like I think a lot of things that are missing, and a lot of things that I know is missing in apps that I've written, but also in general, is just the idea of like people being able to make sense of things, especially navigation. And I think that animation has the potential to do that. And so adding cues, like visual cues that allow people to kind of glean a little bit easier what the heck is happening is great. So I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see machine learning be able to tell the difference between when I want to open up, Instagram's like stories, or I just want to get the heck back. So that's my guess. But I don't see them really. I will very surely say it's impossible for machine learning to fix dev mistakes with the back button, y'all. It's just not going to happen. And I'm sorry on behalf of all devs. I'm very sorry. I could talk for hours about it. It's a fascinating problem.
Point. We've gotten beaten down so much, we're just kind of used to it. I mean, Eric Duckman in chat says, get rid of it. Be the same as iOS. How do you feel about that, Adam? Like if Android was to suddenly get rid of the back, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I mean, maybe someday, but that's a huge shift for that to happen. But what do you think?
On the contrary, on my Twitter feed, I have been a big proponent of Apple instituting the back button because, the gestures between iOS and Android at this point are fairly similar. So, and I use both operating systems on a regular basis. So whenever I'm using an iPhone, I find myself flicking the side of the app often when I want to go back, and it never works, and it drives me nuts, and I really want that to work, and I also want a number row in iOS. Please, Apple, listen to us. Anyway, but no, I mean, logistically speaking, I can see exactly what Wynn's talking about. Like, how would Android know what you want this back gesture to be? And I mean, even if like Wynn said, like we don't even know what it's going to do. Google doesn't know what it's going to do. Nobody knows, what this back button is going to do.
That's true.
Nobody panic. Everything's fine. Okay. But yeah, so I mean, I could definitely see how I would love to see some type of, I don't know, am I just like so jaded that when I hit the back button and it accidentally closes the app, I just reopen it and keep going on with my day?
We've adapted at this point.
Yeah, I think that's just got to be what it is. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my thought. I want Apple to bring the back button, the back gesture, and I don't want Android to get rid of it. And if one of them,
I don't think that's going to happen.
That'll be.
Yeah. But this is an interesting question to ponder. Like, oh yeah, could that happen? Nah, I don't think it's going to happen. So anyways, lots to look forward to Google I.O. next week. So this is starting next Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The keynote, the big keynote with Sundar Pichai and many other, I'm sure, notable Android, people working on Android behind the scenes. That is Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific. We will be doing live coverage of that event. So it'll be me, Leo, and Jeff Jarvis. So we'll be doing the talking while they're announcing things thing. So we'll probably be sitting here at this set right here talking about it. So next Wednesday, that's May 10th, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific. And yeah, join us for that. Now, not I.O. related is Nearby Share, which is getting some changes. When you got that story?
Yeah. So we actually, again, from something that Michelle discovered in the Android 13 code, of course, was a feature that I'm super excited about. And this is actually out now with the May Google or the May update, and this is nearby share. But you can actually shelf share. She shall share shares down by the shoreline. You can self share. And so that is now in the Google May update. So basically, if you have multiple devices logged into the same Google account, you can actually nearby share between them rather than with like a different account. And I tried it and it works and it's awesome. And I actually took a screen cap of it. So the way for this to work is just, whether it's your phone, your tablet, and I think also your Chromecast and other Chromecast, or your whatever, like TVs, anything that can have nearby share. You can, let me see, where is it? Did I have I have a Google Drive. Yeah, the Google Drive link there is my little screen cap. But basically, if you have multiple accounts logged in on multiple devices, when Share is kind of looking for things like for contacts to share with, or with, basically shareable devices to share with, any other device to which you're logged in gets included. And even if your device visibility is set to hidden, so there's an option in Nearby Share in terms of device visibility to be seen by everyone, seen by only your contacts, and seen by no one. Even if your devices are set to hidden, you can still share you can still shelf share. You can shelf share. You can still share to
shelf share.
You can still share to a device, to another device to which you were logged on to. And so I have, like, on the right is my Samsung, and on the left is my Pixel 6. And let me see. You can see my Pixel 6 is actually hidden, but what happens is when I say take a screenshot and I try to share it.
Can you hit play on that video?
Hit play.
And then we'll actually see what's going on here.
See what's going on inside the narrative. But so I have my Samsung and I had my Pixel 6. I took a screenshot on my Pixel 6. And so both devices actually have the hidden setting where I can't be seen by anybody else. I take the screenshot, and if I hit the share button, I can see the nearby button, and I hit it, and then it will start looking for devices. And my Samsung, which is the same, like my same Google account logged into, it's hidden, but because it's the same account using self-share, I can see like both my devices here. I can go ahead and share the screenshot, and I'm done. And it's awesome. And it works.
Nice.
So yeah, it's really, really handy. And again, even if you just want to share to yourself, you can do that. So give it a shot. If you're the kind of person that needs to transfer files between different devices in your home or otherwise, you got it in this May update. And there's a few other things in the May update. Check it out. There's some Google Play Store updates and the traditional bug fixes and improvements. So yeah, nearby shelf
share. Give self shares a shot by the seashore.
Perfect.
Give self share a shot by the seashore.
Give shelf share a shot.
There we go.
Excellent. So
that's a
I
mouthful.
have absolutely no chance of saying that correctly, so I'm just going to stay quiet.
Thank you. I'm just going to
Yeah. I appreciate you falling on your sword for us, though. That was really
multiple times. Multiple times.
Yeah.
It's not easy. That's for sure. All right. Good stuff. And awesome screen share. Thank you for recording that. That's really
absolutely.
cool. That was a great visualization. Appreciate that. All right. We've got hardware news galore coming up here. We've got a really great review and then a whole bunch of rumors. So if you call that galore, well, then you're in for a treat because that's up next in hardware.
I was really hoping that you would say visualization instead of visualization.
Yep. All right, Adam, you've been busy. You've been busy, haven't you? You've actually been playing around with the Nord N20 5G. This came out not too long ago, very recently, a couple of weeks ago. Tell us a little bit about it.
So yeah, this is the OnePlus Nord N20. I'm trying to angle it so you can see it without all my headphones in the background. But anyway,
and the zoom blurring happening.
Here, you know what? I'll just show you the back of it because the back of it is really the title of this review. This is a gorgeous phone that OnePlus made that is super thin, 7.5 millimeters thin, and you don't often see that in a mid-range phone. This is exclusive to T-Mobile, which is unfortunate, but hey, I'm a T-Mobile subscriber, so I guess it works for me.
Works for you.
This is has a 60 hertz AMOLED screen, which is a step up and a step down at the same time because I believe the Nord was at the N200, had an LCD panel, but it was a 90 hertz LCD panel. It is a long-standing tradition on my podcast, Benefit of a Doubt, that I do not see the difference between 60 hertz and 120 hertz, so that will never bother me, but it might bother you, and that's okay.
How do you not see? I don't understand that. How do you not see the difference?
I don't see the difference. I have never seen... The only phone that I have ever seen the difference on was the OnePlus 9 Pro and the OnePlus 10 Pro. Those are the only ones that I ever see like, oh yeah, this is smooth. I don't see it. I've had a dozen other 120 hertz displays since then and nothing.
Your internal frame rate down reses you to 60 hertz. So even if it's 120 hertz, you see 60 hertz. It doesn't matter, you know?
See, it's important for you to know I'm old. Anyway,
aren't we all?
Well,
except for
from
when
a hardware,
I'm old.
Okay, fair enough. We're all old. That's great. Get out of my line. So from a hardware perspective, this is a very solid phone, and T-Mobile has it for 24 payments of 11 whatever. It's $282 all said and done, which is very not bad for this particular space. On the back, we have two very prominent lenses. We have a 64 megapixel main sensor, and then we have a 2 megapixel macro sensor. And then over here, there's a little 2 megapixel monochrome camera. Spoiler alert, this weekend we'll be talking about this phone on my podcast with Miriam Jouar, and
Nice.
she calls these sticker cams, and that is a very apt description. So
Sticker
it's
cams,
basically-
like these cameras are there because that it's on the specs list that they're there, but they aren't as good. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
basically, so they can say triple camera setup
Right.
instead of single camera that you give a crap setup.
Yeah.
So there is a USB port on the bottom. There is a headphone jack, which I'll be honest, I was a week into my review before I even noticed that the headphone jack was there. I'm just
At
all
this point, you
Bluetooth
just
all the
don't even
time.
notice anymore. You're so
I
used to
don't
it
even
not being
notice
there.
anymore. And well, I don't notice 120 hertz displays either. So what am I? I'm just a moron. Anyway, up for debate. Anyway, so the internal specifications. This is running a Snapdragon 695 with, I believe, a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, 128 gigabytes of base storage, and 6 gigabytes of RAM. So all told, pretty decent specs for a mid-range phone. The experience, like navigating between apps, is not as smooth as I would have come to expect from a company that, really pimps the fast and smooth philosophy. But I mean, there were more stutters than I'm typically used to, but I usually review flagships, so I guess that's just on me. The main reason why I was excited to review the OnePlus Nord is because this is the first OnePlus Nord I have ever had the chance to use, and so I was really excited to learn about the space. The OnePlus Nord space, because there's a lot of different OnePlus Nord variants, and so I wanted to kind of get a sense as to what the mid-range OnePlus crowd was doing these days. Overall, I'd say if I had to put a number on it, I did not put a number on it on my review, but I'd say this is sitting at a solid 6.5, 7, somewhere around there. It's good value for the money. So if you're in the $300 budget space, this is a pretty good option to consider. That being said, there are probably better ways that you could spend your money if you decided to pony up a little bit extra and go with like a Pixel 5a or something like that. That would probably be, or a Pixel 6a, which might be coming next week. But overall, yeah, it's a fun little phone. It's the title of my review is OnePlus Settled, because I felt like there were a couple of corners that didn't necessarily have to be cut, but overall, it's pretty good value for the money.
Yeah, I think that's a sentiment. The OnePlus Settled is a sentiment that I feel like we're hearing that more and more with their phones as of late. And I don't know if it's a saturation, because it used to be that OnePlus was very, selective, or I don't know if it was even selective. They just, they were a new company, so they weren't releasing 20 different designs every single year or anything. But now the company, especially in the last couple of years, has really kind of turned into all right, let's go all out with this brand. Let's get it into carrier stores. Let's, represent all different price categories. And, I think for the people who were the traditional OnePlus fans, the luster is off. It's lost a little bit, and it's becoming more of just like another brand of phone that you find in a carrier store. Do you feel that way about this device or about OnePlus in general? Or how do
I
you
would
feel
say Yeah, OnePlus in general, especially when it comes to the Nord series, it kind of feels like it's a little bit lost. Like it's kind of like, I don't want to say like total spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks, but it just seems like OnePlus Nord is kind of trying to still find its identity a little bit. OnePlus has moved on from the flagship killers, which I mean, ironically, the OnePlus One was priced at the same tier, basically.
That's an interesting
$299.
comparison. Yeah, that's true. Right.
And back then, like that was the top of the line processor. I don't remember what it was back then, but it was the best processor you could get. And I want to say that the internal storage was pretty decent, RAM was pretty decent, and like really the only thing that you had to compromise on was a 1080p panel and a crappy camera, and
3 gigs of RAM.
Was it 3 gigs? Okay.
16 gigs of storage on their base model.
Oh my God, really?
Woo!
Wow.
Snapdragon
Open
801.
mouth, insert foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, but you know what? This was a really long time ago. Like, I can't remember when this phone came out, but, we're talking almost Google Glass length of time. Probably like 8 years would be my guess. 8-ish years. And at the time, $1,000 flagships didn't exist. Like that was not a normal thing. They are now, and so those prices have all crept up. The mid-range is now what kind of the premium. Some of the premium phones even used to be. As far as price is concerned. So the market has just changed.
And I mean, the thing that OnePlus has going for it is that the U.S. market is terrible when it comes to phones. Like you have Motorola, you have OnePlus, and that's about it in the mid-range space. LG's not here anymore. TCL has a couple of offerings, but I would say this probably outshines any TCL offering from this year. So, I mean, really, there's not a lot of choice, especially in the budget segment. So I think OnePlus will probably capitalize on that. OnePlus also did say that this will be coming as an unlocked version later on in the year, air quotes, later this year. So we'll see when that comes around. But it's a T-Mobile exclusive right now. And by the way, OnePlus.com does not sell the OnePlus N20, the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. It's only at T-Mobile.
Yeah.
So, which was, I don't know. I found a little laughable, but okay. I will also say, like, when the original, the one that they didn't release here, or one of the Nords that they didn't release here, the very first one that had that light blue, really pretty. I mean, it was just called the OnePlus Nord, and it was released overseas. Oh, okay. And, I was able to review that, and I loved that device. I was like, holy cow, like this is for value and the quality of materials and everything. Like it was great compromise all around. Like the compromises they made were great. It didn't sacrifice the quality of the phone. And then there was the N100 that came out, and it had kind of like it had cheaper build quality, plastic back, definitely a step down in cameras. And that was kind of the first phone from OnePlus where I was like, yeah, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. You're really trying to appeal to this lower price category, and you got to cut corners in order to do that. But it's kind of losing the OnePlus magic along the way, at the same time. So I don't know. It's interesting to see them kind of straddle those lines. One last note that amuses me to no end about this phone. When we were briefed on the OnePlus 10 Pro this year, OnePlus went out of its way to point out how the fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 10 Pro got moved up because people found it awkward to try to scan their fingerprint when it was that low on the thing. And on the OnePlus Nord, right back down on the bottom there. Oh, it is. So. Okay, there you go. There you go. It is strange to have it that low. But, I mean, at the same time, those kind of things, it's weird if you're a reviewer and you're playing with a million different phones and you see where a lot of them are putting those things. But if you're an owner, you get really used to it. At a certain point, it's just kind of the way that phone is. It's not the end of the world. But interesting. All right, so everybody should go over to digitaltrends.com and seek out Adam's full review of the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. Check it out, and all of his other work there as well.
When you have basically some more rumors around the Pixel Watch. We can't stop talking about it.
Yes. well, sources say that the Pixel Watch will have cellular connect. I can't do this anymore. Sorry. So, it's been leak central with this Pixel Watch.
Yeah, it has.
We've got renders. We've got people leaving them in restaurants, iPhone 4 style, and I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens next week. But what we do kind of glean from the specs and the other leaks is that it looks like we're looking at hopefully something that might be kind of flagship style watch. And yeah, we're looking at cellular connectivity. There you go. Cellular connectivity and a 300 milliamp battery. And in terms of just even the sizing of it, it's very comparable to, say, the Samsung Galaxy watches. In terms of size and thickness, kind of the question will be whether and the answer to whether this is flagship worthy will be, its internal specs, the processor, and also its battery life. In this little article from 9 to 5, there's a lot of comparisons with the Galaxy Watch 4, which has a slightly smaller battery at 247 milliamps, which claims to run at 40 hours, but I believe Ben Schoon over at 9 to 5 said it was more of a 24-hour device, and that seems to be kind of the average on other similar watches from Fossil. And is it Skagen? How do you pronounce that?
Oh, that's a
brand?
good question.
Anyway,
Skagen?
I
usually say Skagen.
Skagen.
Oh, that sounds better.
You say Skagen. I say Skagen.
I say Skagen. I say Skagen. But yeah, 24 hours seems to be about average. So we'll Skagen. We'll see. We'll have to see what the Galaxy, or sorry, not the Galaxy. We know what the Galaxy looks like. We'll have to see what the Pixel Watch looks like. And yeah, it's definitely a robust watch. We've seen renders of it having that very nice kind of waterfall edge round bezel, but it's just about the size of a Galaxy Watch 4. It is a little bit thicker than the 40. Sorry, I'm in my notes. So many numbers, so many millimeters. But in kind of comparing it to the kind of smaller Galaxy Watch 4, it is about 4 millimeters thicker, which hopefully kind of is attributed to, maybe like the larger battery size. And again, we don't know. How's it going to charge? We don't know. What kind of processor does it have? We don't know. A Tensor chip, the Samsung chip. I can't pronounce anything today.
Exynos
chip. Some kind of Snapdragon. We don't know yet. And so we just have to wait a little bit longer for the answers. But yeah, it looks kind of like Google might be trying to do something flagship-y with this watch, but I guess top of the line, but we shall have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Man,
wait and see.
Sorry, wait and see.
We obviously need to get Sean Connery on this show to talk about all the latest news in Android.
I'm sorry, but I don't do tech support.
All right. Also, I'm on iPhone. So then Google I.O., we know that Sundar Pichai said at the latest earnings report, by the way, we're going to have new hardware to show at Google I.O. Obviously, part of that is the Pixel 6a. Do we also think it's the Pixel Watch? Let's wait. We don't have to wager any actual money, but let's set our decision in stone. Do we think we're going to see a Pixel Watch at next week's event? Adam, what do you think?
I think we will see both the Pixel 6a and the Pixel Watch.
Okay, so Pixel 6a and Watch. What do you think?
I think we'll at least see a hint, just because it's everywhere. There's a thing. There's a thing. Someone left it in a restaurant. I think we will know something of the watch.
I don't actually have to write these down then, because I think we're all on the same page. I think there's
Are we talking about launching, or are we talking about showing?
No, I'm talking about showing. Like I think that next week they're gonna take the covers off the 6a, of course, and then I think they're also gonna show in some way, shape, or form the Pixel Watch. So yeah, we're all on the same page. Okay, so it's guaranteed to happen at this point, basically. Not really. Do we think that we're going to see the Pixel Fold at next week's event?
No.
Maybe a little bit of a teaser. Could even be like one of those and we're working really hard to make Android 13 even more friendly to certain foldable. And then you see this really super close up folding thing with some splooshy graphics, and they don't even talk about it. But if you're eagle-eyed, you know. What were you going to say, Adam?
I was going to say that is almost certainly what's going to happen. Is they'll say, we're working to be compatible with foldable devices, and here's how we're going to do it. No, we don't have any hardware. Why would you ask such a silly question?
Look over there, squirrel. Yeah. Well, you're probably right, according to at least this leak. Apparently, we're going to have to wait until Q4 of this year to see it. According to Ross Young from the Display Supply Chain Consultants, DSCC, whatever that is, after the release of Android 13 with its own slate, of course, of foldable display support, right, baked in, and Google, totally makes sense that Google would be like, we've been working really hard for these large screen foldable devices, and here is our device to show off everything that we've been hard at work at. So, that rumor pricing around $1,400, which, by the way, is around $400 less than the current price of the Z Fold 3. So that hints at pricing of a foldable. I mean, that, it's not cheap, but less expensive than the premium example in the marketplace right now. Also, yeah.
Oh, so I was just going to say, I'm just trying to work out the logistics here. What does Pixel want to do with the Pixel Fold? Does Google want to sell the Pixel Fold, or does Google want the Pixel Fold to be sort of like a Nexus-like device? Like, this is the best foldable experience that you can get with Android, but you probably won't buy it. Because here's the thing, if there's a couple of different reasons why Google might want to roll out the Pixel Fold next week at Google I/O. Reason number one is you don't want your foldable phone to come out after the Samsung foldable phone, because anybody who's going to want to buy a foldable phone probably will have just bought one a month ago or 2 months ago, depending on when Google decides to roll this thing out. Mm-hmm. And second of all, you'll notice, Samsung has kind of a TikTok type thing going on with the slab phones in spring and then foldable phones in fall. Yeah, does Google want to emulate that by doing a foldable phone in the spring and slab phones in the fall when the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro come out? That's the big question. And so, there's two really good reasons why Google should release the Pixel Fold next week. I don't think they're going to do it, but those are two really good reasons why they should. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off in
No, not at all. But I think that's a really, really good point. It seems to me that the TikTok schedule that Google has going on is all of our flagship devices near the end of the year, and then our A series, or earlier in the summer or whatever. That seems to be kind of like their TikTok schedule, which would lend to the foldable coming later in the year. Based on what we've seen them do with that hardware event, it seems like all of their major hardware releases at that end of year. But that's a really great point, right? Does Google actually want to compete heavily in these markets, in the regular phone market with the Pixel, in the wearable market with the Pixel Watch, in the foldable market with the Pixel Fold? Does Google actually want to be an Apple, or does Google, or a Samsung, or does Google just want to release its devices to A, have its foot in the hardware game, and B, show others how it can be done? And I still don't know that we have the answer, because if Google's aim is to heavily compete with the Apples and the Samsungs of the world, they're doing a pretty poor job. They're not doing very well competing. They might be building up to something, and it might be early on, but they are clearly not there yet.
No, you're not going to beat them overnight, but Google made a very aggressive push with the Pixel and the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro last fall.
Did that pay off?
Pricing the Pixel, they sold more Pixels than ever before, according to the last earnings call. But granted, it was a low bar.
Yeah,
but
right. I think that's my point. Yeah.
Well, sure, but you got to start somewhere. You have to start. And I think if Google can eat the cost of some of its devices to undercut the competition, I think that is momentum that will be gained. Although I am not a business analyst, nor do I play one on TV.
But sometimes on podcasts. What do you think, Gwen?
I think I'm a little bit more on the this is table stakes kind of thinking, where I'm very skeptical about whether they're going to make a dent into the market share of Apple and Samsung, and even Samsung in particular. And I feel like, I think we're enthusiasts, so we're very aware of the space, but if I feel like if foldables are going to break into like mainstream consciousness and mainstream, shopping lists, it's going to be through Samsung at this point. But I do, at least I don't know how much the dev side matters in this, but I feel like at least as a dev, I keep hearing the last few years whenever Google says something like, can you please support large screens, there seems to be this want of a foldable, not necessarily because we think that a foldable will make tablets and foldables happen, like a Pixel Fold. Not because we think that a Pixel Fold will make things happen, but I think it is more an example, a kind of like North Star for what the Android foldable / large screen experience could be. And for some reason that feels very important. Like I don't really expect them to do the numbers that Samsung does. I think if anyone's going to drive foldables becoming more, it'll be a long time. And I think at this point, it looks like Samsung is the kind of the head of the pack in terms of driving people into actually accepting and adopting foldables. But there's still something to be said about Google putting hardware out there, and that maybe it'll take Samsung pushing, but it also feels like Google hardware kind of legitimizes ideas. It's sort of, kind of like they need
it's like
their
seal
example.
of approval.
Exactly.
Sort of thing.
Exactly. And also, I mean, I do really like the Samsung hardware. I've said this 1.5 million times. I don't like their software. And their software is a little bit not the stock Android experience. So I think partly having a stock large screen foldable experience is important, at least for the rest of us devs to kind of get off the I don't like tablets boat and kind of hop on the little dinghy into large screen experience land. Yeah. So it's a small dinghy, but if it floats, then we'll see. I mean, it's a foldable dinghy. It's like a raft.
Wait a minute. Is that news that the Pixel Fold is going to float? This is incredible.
Waterproof.
Waterproof.
And,
yes, thank you.
Yes.
it will save you if you're lost at sea. That's what I heard. That's what I heard, anyways.
And in the event of a water landing, there is a foldable phone underneath your seat that you can.
Your seat is one giant foldable phone. Just hop on and
Please unfold your travel companion's foldable before unfolding your own. Oh wait, no, that's the opposite. Unfold yours first before unfolding that of your travel companion.
Right.
While you're waiting to be rescued, it is installed with Angry Birds, so you have the ability to play while you wait. I should also mention that the Pixel Fold, just a few more leaks, and then we'll get into app news here. Will have a similar inner display as the Samsung devices do, the Z Fold series, but the outer display is going to be different. It's going to be a different layout. So 5.8 inches compared to the Z Fold 4, so this is looking into the future, 6.19 inch, and a wider aspect ratio compared to that slim outer display on the Z Fold series. So XDA says it might end up looking a little bit more like the Oppo Find N, which kind of is more of like a squatty looking, I don't know why that word, but foldable compared to like the tall drink of water that is the Z Fold.
Do you need a squatty potty too? I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that on air. I have no good joke. I have no punchline for that joke. Squatty.
You say squatty, you have to say potty. It's the rule.
Sorry.
They don't make them.
Sorry, it's like Kleenex. They've cornered the market.
Yep.
They've cornered that particular market. Anyways, let's move on. Should we? I think it's a good idea.
Good idea.
Coming up next, you're not going to have to wait very long because we've got some app news.
Jason, let's talk about nothing.
Let's talk a little bit about nothing. Something to do about nothing.
Something to do about nothing. Or maybe, as our very own Florence Ion writes, maybe there's a little nothing to write home about, because today the Nothing launcher is in beta and is released on the Google Play Store. So if you're really curious about what the software on the new Nothing phone might look like, you can give it a shot. I did. Burke did, I think, as well.
Yeah, I've got it on mine.
Flo did. And I'm kind of with Flo that it's really nothing to write home about. It definitely feels like on brand, because again, the Nothing brand is kind of meant to be an elimination of the bloat and overcomplication that we find ourselves now in smart device 2022 land and a kind of paring down of things to essentials. Although it is nothing, it's not essential, it's nothing. And the aesthetic of the launcher is, very similar. It's simplistic, it's stripped down, but is it taking it too far? And I would please go and read Flo's review, because I think there's plenty of wonderful puns to have, because really, as Flo writes, there's really nothing to the launcher, really nothing. And by the way, if you're confused, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're going to end up hating that they called the company nothing, right? Because basically, this is where everybody goes. I mean, it's impossible to not go there, it feels like.
Yeah. And,
sorry.
Well, I hate that they called it nothing. Does that count?
That counts.
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
The only thing that matters, Adam. Only thing that matters.
You should see me in team meetings whenever we have to talk about this company. It's not a pretty sight. Anyway,
nothing compares to it. Right? Yeah.
Nothing compares. Usually that's a compliment, but maybe in this case it might not be. One note actually is that if you're like me and you downloaded it and you're a little confused about where it might show up, you actually have to go into settings, go into app, and then default apps, and then use home to swap it. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I actually took a screen cap of it. I had to take a screen cap of it. Whenever we can load that up is great. But yeah, it's just the launcher. We don't know anything about the hardware, the camera. And by the way, I know that the audio only folks can't see this, but I actually yelped seeing this dang wallpaper. Like it's basically a hand kind of like reaching at you through the screen, kind of behind really thin bars. I actually screamed like, what the heck is this? It felt like, like a little Psycho moment. I think actually Flo felt similarly. And it's fine. I really don't like this default background. It has kind of interesting things like
kind of hurts the eyes.
Yeah, it kind of does, especially with like the default fonts and colors. This dang wallpaper is just so visually distracting. And there's some cute things like all of the folders for your home screen, and even in the kind of bar below. Yeah, you can they actually have an enlarge mode, so you can have them kind of expanded rather than collapsed and kind of occluding icons as general. The nothing widgets are fairly attractive, and I guess within the style with this kind of pixelated dot style, and they work fine. I really don't like the color choices. Like when you're in the widget edit mode, it's just, there's no contrast. I just don't get it.
Yeah, totally. It's very one note.
One note. So it's fine. It's fine. It's not really a good first impression. There's just not a lot. There's just nothing to it. I mean, we're joking, but actually there is one thing, and Flo noted this, that you can switch between app icon sets very easily. And so I think this is the one thing, so there is one thing to nothing, and that there is this cute little icon pack switcher. So there's that. But then this happened to me. If you have like seizure issues, please be careful if you're watching. Oh, I guess, thank you, Burke, for cutting it out. But, never mind. Yeah. And then if you're using in beta, it's a beta.
Yeah, it is a beta. Had that. Right.
It's a beta. Basically, the launcher at some point just started continuing crashing and giving me like strobe light face. So install at your own risk. But I don't know. I hate to sound so Debbie Downer about it, but there's really just nothing to it.
Okay. So why did they do this? Why did they release this in advance? Is this to stir up interest? I mean, it got at least some enthusiasts going, oh, well, let's check this out. But haven't seen a whole lot of really positive feedback on it from people who've checked it out.
Actually, to mention that Carl Pei did say that there is a Discord, and if folks want to join and leave feedback, they should do that. So maybe that's it. Maybe because they're trying this new thing with their branding and trying to do this stripped down to, the most simplest, the most essential. Sorry to keep using brand names. They picked not bad words, but just very easy to want to say words. Maybe they're just trying to reconcile their design system and their design goals with what people actually want. So maybe, it might be worth it. I mean, Google releases developer, previews way early all the time, and has things that break and has things that we don't really like. And then hopefully by actual release time, things are concretely changed. So maybe this is it. So, give it a shot, I guess, if you're a Carl Pei fan or have been intrigued by nothing. And I would definitely leave feedback. that would be the one thing that I think is worth doing, is that if they're sincere about trying to do something different, then give them the feedback. I should probably go in and mention the little Hitchcock hand boogaloo that I ended up with, but feedback, early feedback seems to be a reasonable answer.
Yeah, the hand wallpaper kind of looks like a horror movie cover or something, or maybe I've just been watching too many horror movies. But it's just interesting. I mean, it's visually different, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know what it really tells us. To be honest, I don't know what it really tells us about the phone at all. And I mean, maybe it's not supposed to, but if it's truly different, which doesn't really seem like it really is, then I don't know. I guess I don't understand
so
that.
It doesn't tell us anything about the phone, but what it does do is, so I have two theories, one of which was handed to me by, I think it was Max Weinbach on Twitter. Friend of the show, Max Weinbach, I'm sure. And his suggestion was perhaps they launched this launcher to up their download numbers so that they could go to investors and point to, like, see how many people are interested in this?
Okay.
Look at this. We got 5 million downloads, and all it is a stupid launcher. Can you imagine what will happen when we launch a phone? So there's that. But I think more so, my personal theory is that this is just a hype piece. This is just a way to get people talking about the company, talking about the upcoming phone that we all know is coming, but when that is going to be, we don't know. And it's just a way for Nothing to show off, like, I guess, a part of their aesthetic, but I think it's mostly just for us to talk about Nothing, and I think that's really the company Nothing, not Nothing.
Right, not actual nothingness.
Nothing's
here we are again. I'm back in a team meeting.
Dang it.
Okay.
Dang it. Well, and I mean, Carl Pei, like, it's no surprise. He has always, with OnePlus and now obviously with Nothing, he's very much into this idea of like marketing, in trying different things in order to market their products, and not always going the well-paved path to marketing, and doing something that's going to grab attention. And even if that attention isn't good attention, it's attention, right? And we saw that many times with OnePlus in many different ways. They might not have enjoyed being in the hot water that they got into, but it certainly had people talking about it. And it didn't really seem to detract from people's interest or curiosity about the brand. So maybe it's the same here too.
No such thing as bad publicity, but is there such a thing as too many low star reviews? Because I looked before the show. It was 2.8 on the 2.8 stars on the.
That's a good question.
Store.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even think about that. Good call.
But I mean, if you don't like it, then I guess install another launcher.
I thought you were going to say, is there such a thing as too many nothing burgers? And
oh no, I didn't. But
like,
I should have.
Here's a feature that you can play around with, but there's not a whole lot to it. That would be a nothing burger. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody should check it out. If you think differently, or if you think the same, we want to hear from you. AAA@twit.tv. Let us know what you think of the Nothing Launcher beta release. Okay, this next story is a little near and dear to my heart, because if you're familiar with Bandcamp, I adore Bandcamp. It's just such a great site, great service for musicians looking to sell their music, sell their merchandise. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I've used it for forever. And I just love them. I forgot that Epic Games bought Bandcamp last month. I remember seeing the headline and then promptly forgot about it. But it's now in the news because, as we know, Google is changing its billing, its play billing kind of requirements. Essentially, starting June 1st, if developers are offering billing that isn't using Google's own play billing service, then they could get booted from the Play Store. And some had wondered when Epic acquired Bandcamp if this was because I do remember when I heard about that, I was like, well, that's an interesting acquisition. Like, what is that about? Some were wondering if it had to do with Epic's longstanding, at least the last couple of years, kind of war against Google and Apple around their payment services and not keeping it open to third-party payments, right? And that Epic might have a plan to use Bandcamp as kind of a weapon in this battle. Well, here we are a month later, And it seems that's the case. They are, what is it? Epic has filed a motion for a preliminary injunction, and they're looking to block Bandcamp from getting booted. Epic says Bandcamp's, which has a custom payment system, is actually incompatible with Play billing for a number of reasons. Artists are paid within 24 to 48 hours, so Bandcamp is set up to pay artists quickly because a lot of people who are making music and put it on Bandcamp aren't, making a ton of money, or they might need that money fast. So that's kind of part of the service compared to Google's 15 to 45-day turnaround. Bandcamp pays artists 82% of the revenue. With Google's 10% commission, which, by the way, Google granted Bandcamp a 10% commission, which is lower than the traditional commission rate that they pull out because they complained. It still means that they can't pay the artists what they had promised. So there's that. And then even more complexity is the fact that Bandcamp offers not just digital in-app purchases, right, like digital music that you could buy, but also sells merchandise. And Google's Play billing doesn't support merchandise. So in essence, that would require Bandcamp to have two different payment models, one for if you're buying music digitally, and then another one if you're buying merchandise, which is just kind of like a fork that potentially doesn't need to be there. But so anyways, this is appearing to be an acquisition that is meant to further challenge Apple and Google on their payment systems. And I don't know how I feel about it because I totally support third-party payment systems, right? Like I want that to be the case. But then also there's Epic Games, which sometimes has left a lot of bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, which is just a weird saying. Forget I said that. Anyways, Epic Games has made a lot of people kind of wonder, like, okay, what are your real motives here? And so I don't know if this kind of plays into that playbook. But what do you guys think? Curious.
I'm actually very fascinated to hear a developer's standpoint on this one, so I will yield the floor to Win.
Yeah, I'm a similar mind where I think that a lot of the things that we've been talking about the last few months is basically large platforms like Google and Apple kind of being pushed to be more open, to be more inclusive of like just various various different pay models, pay systems, and trying to be more inclusive and trying to break trusty, like monopoly-ish behavior. I agree with you, and I don't like the idea. It almost, like, the framing is kind of weird, like with Epic positioning itself to fight. And I'm not a big fan of Epic at all, but I do think that this kind of fight and battle is important. And, I hearing you talk about Bandcamp, I'm actually really excited about it. I think that it's important, especially for apps like this that are trying to do something different and offer like services or, provide people opportunities that they don't normally get. Like, that's one of the things I love about technology and doing apps like this, is to provide these kind of opportunities. And yeah, I think that they would be harmed and their users and customers would have a worse experience if their billing would be split like that. So I think it's a good fight to fight. I don't like who's necessarily fighting it in terms of Epic, but I do think it's important. And I think actually in the thing, it says, was like a 30% cut? Like, so they got 10% when normally it's 30%. And, just like presumably the artists on Bandcamp are doing this because they love music, but they need like a way to actually, make a decent living out of it. Similarly, in kind of smaller ways to do independent developers and other people trying to do, kind of compete with the existing like myriads of services, which are continually getting like merged and acquired all over the place. I feel like this kind of action will hopefully help independence of the artist variety, of the dev variety. Again, I don't like who's fighting it, and I'm a little bit curious about what the end game for Epic is. Maybe it's just because they want to do their own thing, which I'm usually a high tide lifts all boats kind of person, but I don't know. We'll see. I do think
maybe they're the right ones to do it. Like maybe
maybe they're the right ones. Maybe they're the chosen ones, and I'm just being like I'm that like old cranky woman in the village that doesn't like the hero because of something, and then they go off and prove me wrong, and I bring them like a basket of baked goods at the end of the movie or something. But we'll see. I think I follow. That was a weird. Sorry,
I just wish that I had a basket of baked goods in front of me right now.
I do too. Maybe I'm just really hungry.
Great! Now I'm hungry.
Piping
Thanks.
hot.
I appreciate that.
Piping hot.
Little wavy lines above them.
That's exactly that smell. Those little like crisscrosses on the on
yes,
on your breads
with
and
a
your
dollop
baked
of
goods.
butter on top. Okay.
Oh well, of course.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Anyway, gosh. No,
Sorry. But yeah, maybe Epic is just the right, whether, because I find myself in a very similar kind of conflicted area. It's like, there are things that rub me the wrong way about Epic Games, but then at the same time, they're really dedicated to this one core issue, and this one core issue I can recognize would be great for a lot of indie developers, for musicians. I can respect that. So maybe just okay. Maybe so you're the ones to make it happen. I guess I should just get over it. But
speaking as a baseball fan that's coming off of an MLB lockout, it's kind of the same argument: millionaires versus billionaires, and so it's really hard to take a side on this. And I have never been one to take Epic Games' side, because at the end of the day, Epic Games decided to make apps in the App Store. It's not like this was not a thing before. It's not like Epic Games was walking along with its little Fortnite thing and suddenly Apple and Google just like threw down the gauntlet and said, none shall pass. No. Epic made, Epic made games to go into these app stores, and like now it's like going into a restaurant and saying, "What do you mean I need to wear shirt and shoes?" I don't see how that's relevant to anything. I just want a hamburger, people. And they're like, "Sir, please put your pants back on." I mean, really, honestly, I'm a little tired of the argument, but at the same time, like I recognize that. See, I think Epic is doing this for money. I think Epic is doing this 100% for money so that they can get the large-sized jacuzzi instead of the medium-sized jacuzzi in their break room. But I think also that Epic has pointed out the fact that Apple and Google both do have monopolies in their app stores. And, even like Apple, even more so than Google. Like at least with Google, you can sideload, but with Apple, it's egregious. And why lawmakers have not seen that, I do not know. But I mean, even Google, to a certain extent, when even sideloading is not a convincing argument. Nobody goes to Shark Tank with a business plan. We're going to have a website where you can download your own launcher, which will then install my app. No shark will back that. So
true.
And Epic is right in that it's pointing out these monopolies, but it's also not doing it for the right reasons, at least as far as Epic is concerned.
I think that's really fair. I think that's totally fair. I do think something that's interesting here is that, and again, kind of going back to the way that Bandcamp works being incompatible, or at least kind of butting against some rough edges when it comes to the way that the Google Play Store works with, being a marketplace, whereas Google Play is usually like kind of like more like single developer. And again, like you mentioned, the physical versus electronic things. And this actually kind of ties slightly back to, I think, like other stories we've had, like the back button stories where, we're at 10 years now with Android in the Play Store. And I feel like, the way that things are done, the way that these systems have brought up, they don't account for all the use cases. And this goes back to the back button thing, because a lot of times the reason where developers do weird crap with the back button is that the system is built a certain way and you find yourself wanting to write your app or write your service in a certain way. And the way that the Google APIs and the way that the Google system work is a little bit not conducive, or a little hostile is a little bit strong, but it doesn't quite fit your use case. And so you find yourself doing weird crap to make it work, or to try to make it work. And I feel like this is kind of not dissimilar in that we have this whole system. It's heavy. It's a monopoly, and it's monolithic. It's heavy, and Android is open, but in these kind of like weird ways where, just like Google Play services and Google Play Store, it gets just incredibly like impassable, set in stone kind of things. And this is not kind of in the spirit of like where people are taking, digital things in the economy, digital marketplaces like this. So I think it's very interesting. And while I totally agree with you, I think Epic is doing it for money, and I don't like that. I do think someone pushing against this system and seeing if it budges is interesting, just for the sake of progressing, whatever this digital life that we all have with, and bringing things like Bandcamp as a marketplace too. I think it's worth pushing back on and seeing if Google can adapt. Or whether we're all just going to be like janking up janking up Bandcamp as well as back buttons, that kind of thing. So I think it's interesting, and I think it's like 10 years of like getting to do things your way, and now everyone's like, we want to do it this way, which I can't help but think is at least a good question to ask. So.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that, and I also am happy that Epic is the one pushing back, because honestly, if anybody's going to have the money to push back against Apple and Google, it's probably somebody like Epic Games.
Yeah.
So they necessarily have to pick up that mantle. It doesn't really matter why they're doing it. They could do it for whatever greedy reasons that they want, but as long as we make forward progress, I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. Agreed. All right.
Isn't it
we've
nice that we
settled
can
this
all
decision.
agree on everything?
So nice.
We will not move on from story to story until we all agree on that particular story. Like this one, Win. What do we have to agree about this time?
We have to agree that if your password is found in a data breach, that you should change it. And Google Assistant is trying to make that easier for you. I mean, it's kind of I think it's a good thing. I think we can all get on board with, if someone has stolen your password, you should probably change it. And Google Assistant via Duplex, which, if you might remember, is the service that allows you to kind of the system that allows you to offload tedious tasks like, say, making phone reservations, purchasing movie tickets, ordering food, to offload that to the Google Assistant. Does anyone remember why it was called Duplex? I think someone told me once and I completely forgot. I just think of Duplex as like the building, the home residence thing. But anyway,
wasn't it modem terminology back in the day too?
Was it? Oh, that might make sense, like a multiplex or duplex.
Duplex, modem.
Something like that.
There was duplex telecommunications. Duplex communication system is a point-to-point system composed of two or more connected parties or devices that can communicate with one another, and blah 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 blah. Says Wikipedia.
So like a conversation. So,
anyways,
soon you might be able to have Google Assistant either automatically or with your manual request be able to check if your password has been found in a data breach. And if you are on the site where said data breach has happened, Google Assistant can actually prompt you to change your password and help you do it automatically. If you're doing it totally automatically, they will pop up a bottom sheet. They'll first give you a notification saying, please change your password now. And if you select to do that, they will open a bottom sheet. They will pre-suggest a password for you, and you can just accept, and you're good to go. Of course, at any point in this, you can override. And then as you are taken to, whatever service it is where you have like the stolen password, you can override anytime and kind of take care of things yourself. But apparently, I love this. I think this is kind of one of those things that, I'm sure someone can think of a downside to this, but we kind of talked about password managers and like passkeys before, and I think this is just another step in helping people and guide people to be more safe. And it is a gradual rollout, but apparently some people have had it since November. So if you see this, definitely you're lucky. But definitely if you get Google telling you that you need to change your password, you should change your password. Just do it. Love it.
The easier we can make it safely to change passwords when needed, like Google automatically recognizing this password is leaked, you need to change it, and I'll do it for you. Do you approve with this? Okay, great, boom. Without me having to go in and do any sort of manual things, as long as it's done safely, that's awesome, because a lot of people aren't going to do it otherwise. Like, they're just not going to do it. This encourages, so.
Yeah, and there's a lot of control. Like sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was going to say, I checked, when I read the story, I actually checked to see if I had this feature, and I do not yet. It took me a while to find a weak password, because one of the things that I did in my transition from freelance into working full-time, I had a few weeks off. So password hygiene was one of the things that I did in order to...
Nice.
It was just one of those things that's so time-consuming, and I found myself with time, so I figure I may as well do it. But yeah, so I checked right before we went on the show, and I do not have that yet, but I am very much looking forward to it because despite that password hygiene break, I still have a few passwords that have been compromised. So I need to get those switched, and I'm waiting for Google to do it for me because I'm lazy.
I refuse to do it on my own when you can do it for me, Google. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. All right, that is the app news. Coming up next, we've got a bunch of your email, your feedback up next. AAA at twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA. That's how you can get in contact with us and be part of the feedback section. Like Scott, so these first couple of emails that we got are all about this like continuing thread of how to clean ports and everything. I think we've been talking about this for a month in feedback at this point. This is just how it works on this show, apparently. Scott writes, this is my preventative solution for gunk and damage for the USB port on my phone. It's to buy a magnetic adapter. For example, here are two that I've used, and he links to a couple of Amazon product pages that show these. And he says this helps protect the port in the phone itself while also making disconnects and reconnects faster and easier. The plug keeps out the dust and takes on the wear and tear. If something happens to the adapter, it's far cheaper and easier to replace the adapter than repair the phone. And so it's got like a little plug that goes into the port and then a little magnetic like snap on the other side, similar to like a MagSafe connector. And so that plug stays in your port, your USB-C port, and the magnet just like connects to it. That's a really cool, I didn't know this existed. That's a really cool
I love that
hack.
I love that. Absolutely, I love that. And, I'm a big proponent of wireless charging. I'm a big proponent of MagSafe. Actually, I have... Can I find it? Is it in the first drawer that I opened? No, it's in the second drawer. I have a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra with a MagSafe case on it.
Oh yeah,
because I love MagSafe that much. And like the first thing I search for with every new phone that I get is X name of phone on Amazon, X name of phone case MagSafe, just to see if there's anybody else out there that has it. And so far, I've been quite unsuccessful. But yeah, I love the idea of this magnetic charging. The one has a 90-degree angle on it, which I think would be a little weird for like vent mounts and like in your car. Yeah. So but like there was another one there which was just a straight on magnet that I might be ordering after the show. So because I'm fascinated with this and I love the idea of magnetic charging ever since the Palm days. So bring it on. More magnets, I say.
Yeah, and it's killing two birds with one stone, right? Like it's plugging up the port so the port isn't getting dirty, and it's giving you magnet charging. Although, if you're not at home where your magnet charger thingy is, then you're taking the thing out of the port. But still, it was protecting the port. And, last week we had these little port plugs, these like little rubber plugs that you can put in there, which, someone in our feedback section told us about. And that's what they used. It's not a bad solution, but we did Ron made the point that like, now I got to take out that thing and put it down and make sure it doesn't like, fall off the table or whatever. It's tiny and everything. So there's a little bit of that, but this gives you that plus a little bit of extra functionality in a different direction. So really neat solution that I had no idea even existed, Scott. So thank you for sending that in to us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
For shizzle.
For sure.
Well, right before I get to the continued saga of cleaning up your ports, I did want to point out that Lee Woods in Discord did say that he actually has the duplex automatically change password feature, and he says it works great, but not all sites support it, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
So that's a bummer. So just be aware of that. I mean, Assistant isn't going to automatically know exactly where it needs to go to change your password on all sites. Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, it would be great if that were the case, where it just automatically knew exactly where to go. But I think it makes sense that it would probably only work with a number of like really high profile websites. That's easy to track and to know that the effort's worth it.
So now I'm kind of wondering if maybe I do have it, but I just went to a website that didn't support it.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility.
Could be.
It is a hard thing to test. I guess if you really want to test it, change all your passwords back to being unhygienic.
Right.
Unhygienic.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Do not do that. For the sake of science or otherwise.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of
one day you'll probably organically see it. You'll be like, oh, this is the thing they were talking about 2 years ago on All About Android.
Yeah, hopefully by the time you get it, maybe they'll figure out the incompatibility. It's like, I can't think of, maybe it's something weird about the forms in certain sites, or maybe just they're not able to get the information. But anyway, thank you very much for letting us know, Lee Woods.
Yeah, thank you.
But back to cleaning ports. We've got a email from Robert who says, "Hi guys, longtime listener, love the show, keep up the great work. Thank you. Here's a tool to clean up ports and small crevices and electronics, and I'm sure it can be used for other things. Port cleanliness is a thing."
Yeah, port hygiene.
Port hygiene. And this is really interesting. Robert has linked us. It is another Amazon product page, and it's really neat. Like, what is is it like I can't, Jason, what is this?
It's a multi-tool.
It's like a pinwheel.
So it's a multi-tool. Yeah, and it has these different, it looks like a star almost, and on the point of every star is like a different tool. One might fit into the port and clean the port out. Another you might put your plug into so that it cleans the plug itself.
Gotcha.
Ooh,
okay. Yeah, it looks like one of the, you can add a little pipe cleaner to one of the tips. And there's even some kind of, is that some kind of cleaner, like a gel? There's a little tube of something. But
Do not
it's really
look
neat.
at the sixth picture. It's a little gross. Just fair warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, gross. Talking about cleaning the gunk that gets on your ear gunk or your ear pods.
Yeah. Well,
it's a really interesting multi-tool that has just multiple different, ways of cleaning, whether it's this brush, whether it's these little kind of nubbins that help you kind of scrape out, I presume, dirt and debris. And it's all in this one little tiny handheld. It looks like maybe a couple inches, an inch and a half large.
It's pretty small.
So pretty small, and it comes with its own. What is this? Is this some kind of cleaner, or what is that? Lubricant, or maybe some kind of thing?
It's like a putty, I think they call it earbud cleaner.
That putty is the sixth image. The sixth image.
Oh,
because it's what pulls the gunk out of the port, right? So.
Oh God, it's on the screen. Oh God. Damn you, Burke.
Sorry, you guys were talking about it. I had to.
Yeah. This is where audio listeners win. But so I think that's what it is. It's kind of like a soft, sticky surface so that you push your earbud into it so that it goes into the hole, can grab whatever's in there and pull it out.
So kind of like that green goop that you use to clean your keyboards and
kind of like slime. Yeah, that slime stuff that that gets in between but doesn't actually go into your keyboard and get lost.
Image 5 said it has conductivity solution included. Maybe that's the little red tube that I saw.
Yeah.
So you're talking about something different.
Yeah, if you look in, there's a little red tube.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else.
I thought that was cyanide.
In case you
I've been reading
never
a lot of spy novels. Sorry, I've been reading a lot of spy novels.
This phone is it's too far gone. It's dirty. I'm done. Check it out. Pop open the cyanide.
Peace.
Oh, okay. So so just to, I was like, what is it, Jason? I have no idea what this is. It looks cool. I'm going to buy it and then find out what it is. But the little star shape, it has 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 tips, but each tip is actually a brush. And then to store it, you inverse the brush and then put the brush side inside of the star to store it. And then when you're actually using it, you take the tip out, kind of like an iFixit or any of those other kind of interchangeable head screwdrivers, but with brushes. This is so awesome.
Nice. So, audio listeners, if you're like, well, what is it called? I don't know what to search for. I mean, you can check our show notes, but which twit.tv/AAA. Just look for today's episode. But on Amazon, it's called the PurePort Multi-Tool Cleaning Kit with error squares, earbud, and a million other words because that's what all Amazon titles do. But right. But that's basically it. PurePort, one word, cleaning and maintenance multi-tool. Look for that.
Oh, and the oh my gosh, shelf share and conductivity. The conductivity solution oh my gosh, is meant to remove contaminants and repair arcing and oxide damaged bits. And it kind of looks like you actually apply the solution inside of one of the tips and then put the port in and let it soak or something, kind of like a mani-pedi almost, but for your for your cables.
Interesting.
I'm guessing
less safe about, but I guess I don't know. Yeah. I don't know for certain.
Yeah, maybe I might be wrong about that, but it kind of seems what the pictures are implying is that
they're just. I don't have a whole lot of cords that. Like that are so precious to me that I feel like I need to. Well, that look that bad. I'm just not a cord cleaner, I suppose. Yeah. But
read the instructions, I think, is the important takeaway here. Read the instructions.
And
please.
And
don't take
YMMV, and we are not responsible for blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. We've got our appropriate disclosures out of the way. We are absolved of all responsibility. But thank you, Robert, for sending that in. And thank you, Scott. That was a good kind of block on how to clean your phone. We'll see if next week we have even more in the email box because they seem to keep coming in. It's a topic you all like, apparently. All right, it's time for the email of the week. Kyle from Tampa, Florida. Thank you for writing in, Kyle. Kyle says, just listened to this week's show and felt the pain of not having a two-factor code after an Android wipe. This brought me back to my root and ROM days when I would flash a new build sometimes nightly. I remember those days. I was
hardcore.
Right there with you.
Love it.
Since that time, for years, I've kept a small printout of one-time Google two-factor codes folded up in my wallet for just these occasions. I have only had to use them one or two times, but when I needed them, I was glad I had them. You likely already know this, but just in case, you can print out a list of these one-time codes in a security section of your Google account online. And that's a really great reminder if you have two-factor set on your Google account. And I'm sure this goes for other accounts that you have two-factor authentication set for. You can look at each of those services and see if they actually offer this. But definitely with Google, you can go to your Google account, the security section, and print out. It's meant to be kind of like a last resort. And they give you this tiny little printout. It's probably about this big when you print it out. And it's just like 10 codes, 10 backup codes. So that worst case scenario, technology goes awry, you forget, whatever the case may be, have that stored somewhere that technically it should be stored somewhere that no one could ever get to it. I would be nervous keeping it in my wallet. If I lost my wallet or whatever, like I'd be kind of nervous that someone would now end up having backup codes for my most precious accounts.
I'm fairly sure you could reset those. Just FYI,
that's true. You probably can. Yeah, I'm certain you can.
I'm pretty darn sure you can. So because I've looked at those before, contemplating and printing them out and decided not to. But I believe I read at the time, like, you could push this button to reset. And I said, what does this do? And it reset everything. So I'm like, okay, don't touch that again. Good to know.
In fact, Victor, you just showed an FAQ page on this, and it even says you can get a new set of 10 backup codes whenever you want. When you create a new set of codes, the old set automatically becomes inactive. So that's good reminder. But, print that out if you got two-factor authentication set on your account. Store it away someplace safe. Forget about it, and hopefully you never need it. But if you do, you got it, and you haven't lost your access. So
I just want to say this came in handy with the family member.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Nice. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's meant to be your saving, your saving grace if needed. So it's nice to know that you can do that. So great reminder, Kyle. Thank you for that. And congratulations. We have nothing to give you other than these horns. You are the email of the week. All right. We have reached the end of this episode, and we went a little long today, but it was a lot of fun. Really great to have you back, Adam Dowd. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk all about Android. That was fun. Jason, I just want to say you run a tight ship, and the producer in me really appreciates the hell out of that. So,
right on. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. What do you want people to know about anything you're working on? Or, this is your opportunity to plug.
This is my time to pimp my stuff. Okay. My day job is interim section editor at digitaltrends.com, where you can catch all the news and reviews you could possibly want in the world of mobile by night and by weekend. I'm the co-producer and host of the Benefit of a Doubt podcast. That's Benefit of the DOUD, just like my last name. And I have lost so many people looking for the Benefit of a Doubt podcast. But anyway, you can find that podcast at benefitofthedowd.com or whatever podcast player you happen to be listening to this show on. And on the Twitters and on the Instagrams, I am Dead Technology, and that is the sum of me. And before I sign off, Win, I just wanted to say officially, great to meet you, and it has been a slice.
It has been absolute pleasure, Adam. So happy to get to meet you, and likewise, super slice.
Super slice. Slices all around.
Pizza or cake or pie, or what other sliceable
Good clarification.
Digital trends right there. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, he's not going to answer your slice question. Okay,
there was a question? I'm sorry, I was too self-absorbed.
I was like, a slice of what? It's okay. We have to pimp out the digital trends when you're here, so that's totally valid.
Right, I'm sorry.
What about you, Win? What you working on?
Well, unlike Adam, I do play a dev on TV. Actually, I play a dev on TV and in real life, and what I mean is that actually last week, I was not with y'all, and I was very sad about it because I was in London filming another episode of the Android show.
Of course you were.
So yes, I was.
Awesome.
And it's going to be IO centric. I think I can say that. So keep an eye out for it next week, and then maybe a trailer later this week. I have no idea. Hopefully, I'm not going to get in trouble for saying that. I think it's fine that I tell y'all I'm doing it, but keep an eye out for that. And then when I'm not playing a dev on TV, I'm actually a dev in real life. You can find me on the social media, specifically Twitter and Instagram at Queen Code Monkey, and you can find me, my talks, other technical content that I do related to Android development and Kotlin on my website, randomlytyping.com.
Right on. That's so exciting. You got to do another episode. That's amazing. And you get to what kind of podcast can we get on to take us to London every time we need to record an episode? Like I'm game for that. That sounds like a pretty cool opportunity. Jeez.
And may I just say, Win, you are the queen of branding. Randomly Typing and Queen Code Monkey are just the two best names ever. So well done.
I'm glad that you got that. I'm glad that you got that very much. So I appreciate that. Or because the whole, what is it? Is it like, dang it, I named my website after it. Like it's something about if a monkey was randomly typing for an infinite amount of time, they're most assuredly going to write Shakespeare or something.
The works of Shakespeare, yeah.
The works of Shakespeare, something like that. So yeah, but thank you. I definitely like the name of your podcast. Without a doubt? Without a doubt.
Close enough. Benefit of the Doubt, but yeah.
Benefit of the Doubt. So. Oh, well, without a doubt, you should listen to Benefit of the Doubt.
There you go. With a D and not a T. There we go. Oh, I
Hey-o.
Hey.
And there's my co-producer, Cliff. Anyway.
Big thanks to Victor for pushing all the buttons, occasionally talking on the show, making things happen behind the scenes. Also thanks to Burke, who was pushing the buttons at the beginning. I don't understand how this whole thing goes anymore. It's like Burke's there and then Victor's there. And
I kicked him out.
They trade and stuff. So apparently it's both of them are required to switch this show. But you are both welcome to switch the show anytime you like. So thank you, Victor. Thank you, Burke, for everything you do. Find me on Twitter at Jason Howell. Also doing Tech News Weekly every Thursday with Micah Sargent. If you go to twit.tv/TNW, then you can find that show there. And don't forget Club Twit. This is our subscription-based service, ad-free service for all of our shows with no ads. You also get access to our exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed, where we have just tons of extra content dropping in that feed all the time. And members-only Discord, which is just a lot of fun, $7 a month. Or you can pay for a full year, $84 per month if you like. Twit.tv/ClubTwit. Check it out for yourself. We know you will love it. As for this show, we publish every Tuesday evening. Just go to twit.tv/AAA. That's our show page on the web. And everything you need to know to subscribe is there. And finally, I should say, next week is Google I/O week. Do I win? Do I go ahead and reveal that Win's going to be here in studio, sitting at the desk? Looking forward to it. Super looking forward to it. So it's going to be awesome to have you here.
It's going to be real. I'll be 3D.
I know. It's going to be kind of crazy, actually. So Do not miss next week's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Did you spend a lot of money on your brand new smartphone and then you look at the pictures on Facebook and Instagram and you're like, what in the world happened to that photo? Yes, you have. I know. It happens to all of us. Well, you need to check out my show, Hands On Photography, where I'm going to walk you through simple tips and tricks that are going to help make you get the most out of your smartphone camera or your DSLR or mirrorless, whatever you have. And those shots are going to look so much better. I promise you. So make sure you're tuning in to twit.tv/hop for Hands On Photography to find out more.